What's good, Glam Gang? Welcome back. Today is episode 6 of 14 Days of a Teezy Valentine. Today we will be making an Omighty inspired thong G-string set, you know, with the tube top and then with the skirt with the G-string attached to it. We making that today. So if you would like to know how to make your own, please keep on watching till the end of this video. So these are the patterns for the Omighty thong set. I have to figure out like another name for it because I think they call it thong set too on the website, but we'll figure out like a cuter name for it. But this is the skirt pattern. We have the tube top pattern, and then also I have my thong pieces here. So we're gonna cut it out of our fabric. So this is the fabric that we'll be using. It's like a lycra spandex fabric, which is one of the stretchiest fabrics that I personally have ever used. And it's really nice. It has like a sheen to it. All right, so these are all the pieces cut out. You should have 2 tube top pieces, 2 skirt pieces, and 2 thong pieces, 1 back thong piece and 1 front thong piece. So now we're going to get to sewing the tube top first. So these are the 2 tube top pieces. The longer part should be the top of the tube top, and the shorter part should be the bottom of the tube top, because it should be shrinking, because your waist typically, not everybody, but typically, at least on my body, is smaller than my over bust. I'm going to use this as my right side of the fabric, the light. So we're going to put the tube tops together, right sides kissing. Then we're going to pin here and here. So I'm going to sew at the side seams at a 1/2 inch, maybe a little bit more, depending on how it fits the first time. Like I always say, always try on your garments as you are sewing them too, so you know what fit you're getting, and also if you want to change it. Alright, so this is what the tube top looks like. It's, you know, a rectangle. So what I'm going to do now is fold this back a 1/2 inch to create the tunnel for the elastic, and then we will sew it down. Okay, so this is what it looks like once it's pinned. So we're just gonna sew around. I'm probably gonna sew on the edge of the seam allowance with the zigzag stitch. So this is what the tube top looks like. I'm going to take my 1/2 inch elastic, and I'm going to measure out my over bust measurement, and I'm going to cut it out of the elastic. Make sure you don't pull the elastic as you measure it out. Now that we have that, actually when I sewed this top, I undid some threads so that there's a little bit of space that's unsewed in the tube top. So I'm gonna flip it inside out. And so you can see there's a little hole gap here. I don't know if you can see, but there's like a little hole, little part that I did not sew down. So what I'm going to do is take my elastic, and I'm going to put a safety pin and hook it through the elastic. I'm going to put it through that little hole that I left open and wiggle this elastic through the tunnel that we have made for the elastic band. And just make sure as you're doing this that you don't pull it all the way through to the point that the other end goes in, because you need that to stick out so then you can sew the elastic together. So I pulled the whole elastic through. Now what we're going to do is take the end of the elastic that we just pulled through and the end of the other side of the elastic and pin them together, and then sew at a 1/2 inch. This is what it looks like. Lord, if you don't focus, thank you. This is what it looks like once you're done sewing it. So what now I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut the excess, like I said, boom. Now after that's done, then I'm just going to pull the elastic until all of it is fed through the tunnel. All right, so I was able to fit all the elastic in the tunnel. I did have to cut off a little bit more elastic to help the fit. So I would say cut off about 2 inches, but sew it first. So the seam allowance should be like a 2-inch seam allowance, and then you just cut off the excess elastic. So now what we're going to do with that spot that we left open, we are going to sew it back so that the whole tunnel is closed. Flip the tube top inside out. And then now what we're going to do is fold up the bottom edge a 1/2 inch, and then we're going to sew it down, and that should be the rest of the tube top. So after we do that, then we're going to move on to the skirt. Alright, so I'm taking my skirt pieces now and doing the same thing we did with the tube top. This is the light side, this is the light side. I'm going to place them together. Ooh, I cut this all types of wrong at the bottom. Oh my god. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to pin down here and then sew also at a 1/2 inch. So now what we're going to do, fold the hem of the skirt up a 1/2 inch, and then we'll sew that down. So let me go and do that right now. Before we sew the hem down, I'm actually gonna cut some of the skirt off because it really is a mini skirt. So I'm measuring from the bottom of the skirt about 4 inches up, and then just placing like reference pins there. Something like that, okay? I know, it's super duper tiny, but mind you, it's gonna be from your hips down. So hopefully it's not too short. I could have just made like the biggest mistake. Okay, so now that I've pinned everything, I'm just going to sew a little small zigzag stitch and hem the skirt. Alright, so these are the thong pieces, and if you've seen my Dior bikini video, then you know what's up. I have the thong pieces on the right side, so I'm going to match them up. Right side's kissing, align it at the crotch area. Okay, so I pinned it down here, and we're gonna sew across at a 1/4 inch. Okay, so this is what the thong looks like once you sewed it at the crotch. My first plan did not work out that well, so I'm going with plan B, which is how I did the bottoms in the Dior video I have, which is pretty much to lay the elastic down and then pretty much sandwich it, oops, in the seam allowance, like that. So you just kind of like fold the seam allowance over a 1/4 inch and then just put the elastic in that little sandwich and then just sew it down. So I'm going to pin it and sew it that way with a straight stitch this time because I just can't stand zigzag stitches right now. And then I'll come back with this done and also the bigger straps done. So this is what one of the straps looks like. So you want to fold it in half while the right side is facing you. So then now the wrong side is facing you. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. But anyway, fold it in half, hot dog style. As you place pins, we'll sew at a 1/4 inch on here. And as we sew this, we'll be sewing the elastic as well. And so I'm going to take my 1/4 inch elastic, and then so as we're sewing, I'm going to place it pretty much like kind of sort of in the middle, like these, kind of sort of in the middle. So pretty much where that 1/4 inch mark is when you're sewing, it should also be sewing down the elastic. Okay, so this is what the strap looks like once you're done sewing it. So now I'm going to use a loop turner to turn it and flip it inside out. Okay, so this is what the strap essentially looks like. I'm going to take the thong that we just sewed together. We should find the centers of both the strap and the thong just to make sure that we are going to sew them to each other symmetrically. So obviously you just fold it in half, and then I'm just going to place a pin where that half mark is, like so, relatively. And then you just do the same thing for the strap. You fold it in half. Okay, and then you place a pin. So now we are going to match up the midpoints together. Hopefully if the camera can focus. Okay, so I'm going to match up pin to pin, making sure that the seam of the strap is facing the bottom, pin to pin, and then I'm going to pin it together. So I'm just going to snatch this pin right here and pin the strap and the thong together. Okay, and then now that that's pinned together, I'm going to continue to pin all across the strap and the thong at the top. If it can focus, yes. Now I do want to show you here, it's just that I'm going to pin the top of the thong, the raw edge, just like a little bit below the top of the strap. I'm sorry for all the parts that have been blurry throughout this video. It's really annoying. So now that I've pinned everything together, I will do a straight stitch across the top of the thong. We are going to continue that straight stitch along the straps, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing for the back, and then we'll take it to the sewing machine. Alright, so this is pretty much what the thong looks like. Now, the last step that we have is to attach the thong to the skirt. So, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did not finish the top of the skirt because I want to finish the top of the skirt and attach the thong to the skirt all in one go. What I'm going to do is flip this inside out and then fold the edge back and pin it at 1/2 inch. Then I will show you how I'm going to attach the thong to the skirt. It's more like 1/4 inch, or in between like 1/4 and 1/2 inch. Now I'm just gonna flip it so right side out. So I'm kind of just gonna mark the midpoints of the skirt and the thong, which I probably should have did first just to make it easier for myself. So I'm going to then measure from the top, like the top, like the very top of the thong, from the midpoint 4 and 3/4 of an inch downward and marked it there, because I tried on my skirt and the thong to see where I wanted the thong to lay and how much I wanted to see, and then I measured from the top of the thong to the top of the skirt, and that's the distance that it is. So I'm marking it there with the pin. I'm going to put the thong inside the skirt, at least the bottom half of it, and from the midpoint of the skirt and then the measurement and midpoint of the thong, I'm just going to pin it together as such. Okay, so now it looks like that. And then we're going to repeat it for the back. I measured 4 inches, so I'm going to measure 4 inches down from the top of the thong. So now what we're just gonna do is sew everything together. Hopefully, wish me luck. I don't know how this is gonna go, but I'm just gonna sew it with a straight stitch because I don't trust zigzag stitches right now. And after we do this, then the whole DIY is done. All right, so that is it for this DIY. This is how the set came out. It looks so freaking good, but I do gotta say, if I have to sew it one more time, the second time's definitely gonna be better. This is banger, and you know, like the Y2K 2000s era is definitely coming back. Full circle, full freaking circle, and so I'm just feeling this whole look. That's pretty much it for this video. It's a pretty, you know, easy project to do if you want to do it yourself, which if you do, please tag me in social medias, especially Instagram and TikTok is where I'm at most. Hashtag Teezy Valentine. All right, so of course it's the time in the video that you get your self-love journaling prompt, and this is definitely like a journaling prompt. It's a little bit deep. It's a little bit much, but it's definitely worth it and needs to be done. It's kind of something that you don't realize needs to be done until like you do it, and then you're like, wow, I really needed that. The journaling prompt for today is writing a forgiveness letter to yourself for whatever, however, whenever, whatever you feel like you're guilty for and feel guilt over. Write a forgiveness letter to yourself, okay? And that is what I'm going to leave you with and let you handle it the way you want to handle it. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you enjoyed this series so far, and also what's your favorite video and all of that good stuff. So as always, please love yourself, and I will see you next video. Mwah!